That means start.
It does. It means start.
Yeah.
Podcast day. Draft was last night. Want to get right into that, or do you got
Sure.
something else?
I love to. I love the draft.
Okay, so did you actually watch it?
I do.
Did you actually watch like on TV?
Yeah. Here's why.
Okay.
Here's
Okay,
why.
yeah, go.
Because I love hockey.
Yeah, that's
Like
fine.
I love hockey, and it's like I know kids,
Yeah.
and I train kids, and then but for me, there's also teaching, and I watch a lot of the stuff that goes on.
Yep.
So when I got home last night, I sat on my couch. I didn't want to move. And that was the best thing. So I was in and out of it, watching it, falling asleep. So yes.
Yeah, but you actually watched it because I
Love
didn't. I checked the updates up until pick number 4.
Yeah.
And why pick number 4?
Yeah.
You might ask. Because Mr. Shane Wright didn't go till pick number 4.
Right.
So I didn't actually watch the thing on TV, so I didn't get the commentary or like the reactions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But this is why we talked about the exceptional status thing before.
Yeah.
This is why it's a pain in the ass to me, because on the one hand, there's another side to it, of course, but on the one hand, I'm thinking about this kid who's 19 right now, Shane Wright, 18 years old,
18.
under a microscope in the hockey world,
Yeah.
of like supposed to be the number one, whatever.
Yeah.
He's a good player, man. So
100%.
this kid was probably devastated last night.
Even if he wasn't, he
and
was.
I know, and he was the 4th overall pick in the
Yeah.
NHL draft.
Yeah.
It's like, so you go.
Well, I got a lot of ways to go, so write this down.
Okay.
Just write down I felt actually bad for him.
Mhm.
Okay. But then I didn't feel bad for him.
Right.
Okay. So I felt bad for him.
Okay.
So I love watching the draft. It's a big thing. I love seeing people accomplish things. And then, but here's what people have to remember. Because my wife got back at some point and she goes, "Oh, did that guy deserve to get drafted that high?" And all this, because she doesn't know, right? She's a normal person that thinks that maybe there's some. She hears some of the hype. Like, so one person got drafted and they were talking about. She heard a couple people get drafted. They were talking about how, oh, they have a lot of work to do still before they get there. She goes like, "Well, why did they draft him right away?" I said, "Well, because there's a lot of work to do." And then she was asking questions. I said, "Listen, what you're listening?" I said, "Don't listen to that guy on TV. They're marketing people. They're
Right.
trying to sell stuff and have people have controversy, and everything they say has zero clout.
Right.
I don't care who they are, because they're just trying to sell a program." So go back to the draft, and we'll go back to Shane Wright. This poor kid, if you want to call him a poor kid, took the exceptional status or applied for it. So that's their decision. Obviously, he's a really good hockey player. Now I have my things with exceptional status that there's probably only a couple ever that actually should be exceptional status if we're gonna go down that road. And to me, exceptional status is Connor McDavid walked into the OHL at 15 years old and had a ridiculous amount of points and stepped in the NHL. Like, there was no doubt whatsoever he was exceptional. So maybe that's something you do. Aaron Ekblad, one of my guys, was exceptional status. He stepped into the OHL. I'm still not convinced that he needed to do that, but he did, and he became a first overall pick because he was actually exceptional. And I'm not saying Shane Wright isn't. I'm just saying he got it. So he obviously is exceptional. But here's the thing. The kid gets exceptional status, so it's almost immediately like Connor Bedard now. They must be exceptional to the NHL. They got to be going first overall, and people put the tag on. But it's not necessarily the scout for the Philadelphia Flyers that puts the tag on, or the Detroit Red Wings or anything like that. It's the sports network. It's Sportsnet. It's TSN. It's ESPN. All these guys, because they got nothing better to do than to hype bullshit for 2 years or 3 years, right?
Yep.
The TSN's not drafting him. Like, what's his name? Craig Button. I know he's doing his job, and he was a scout, and he was a GM at one time, so he actually knows hockey. But he was not going to let this thing go that he is the number one player in the world, and he's Patrice Bergeron. But just even saying that, he's a Patrice Bergeron. Wouldn't you like him? How do you, like, don't say that to the kid right now, like the hype machine.
Yeah.
So this kid's walking around the last couple of years, and I from all I've heard is he's a very hardworking kid, and he's a very good hockey player. I've never seen him live. But this kid's walking around with this thing. He's first overall in the NHL. He's going to be first overall NHL. Okay, so fine. So this kid walks around with that. So here's my next issue is what I always tell people, and I'm not saying his parents did anything wrong or whatever, because maybe they had the same conversation. But you can't fail your kid. You have to build that common sense or escape clauses. It could be a worst case scenario. Best case scenario, maybe it's best case scenario. You do go first overall. But what if you don't, and you don't perform, and now it gets to that, and there's like for this whole year, it's like I don't know. There's other guys. So at me as a dad, I'm like, okay, son, maybe we gotta look at this another way, or maybe we have to deal with it because it could happen, and I'm sure they did to a certain point. So this kid comes along and right to the morning thinks he's going to the Montreal Canadiens first overall. And then so the next part that I couldn't stand about over the last week or two or three, this Slavkovsky kid comes. You start hearing his name over and over, and everyone's talking. You know, the writing was on the wall. The writing was on the wall. And everyone's putting pressure on Montreal and these. And so you got all the fans saying, you got to take Shane Wright. How the hell would a fan know? What are you scouting? What did you ever scout?
Yeah.
Right? So all this is coming to a head over the week, and it's like, it's just a hype machine. So then the whole production, right? It's all cool, but it's like the draft could take about 45 minutes to get 30 picks, 32 picks, or an hour. But they make it like this big thing, you know, like, and it is a big thing, but it's like what we have to understand about the NHL draft, the OHL draft, all that stuff. There's things that need to be hyped, and then there's reality. So this kid's sitting in the stands. I felt so bad for him. Well, no, let me go back. So in the newspaper, that's what I was going to say. Slavkovs, whatever the guy's name is, I can't say it right. They're kind of in the media saying, who should be number one? Do you feel like you're the number one pick? Like, imagine asking an 18-year-old kid this. Do you think you're the number one pick? It doesn't matter what I think, right? It's like, and so they're both like, I think I'm the number one. I should be the number one pick. So I heard Shane Wright saying, yeah, I think I'm the best player, and I think I should be number one. Okay, cool. Because they're starting to believe the hype, right? That's what when I went home yesterday, Charlie and I were eating, and I said, okay, let's just say, because I went through those comments and how they're going through this. I said, so let's just say you are in that situation. And so you don't even have to be a number one overall consideration. You could be your draft year, right? I said, how would you answer that question? Do you deserve to be the number one pick? And he goes, and I gave some of the comments that Shane Wright did and Slavkovsky. And he goes, I don't know. Like, I don't know how I'd answer that. I said, well, I wouldn't answer it like, yeah, I should be the number one pick. And promoting like, yeah, of course I'm the number one pick or whatever. I would never do that. Yeah. And one of the questions was, I think it was like along these lines is like, what does it mean to you to be the number one pick? And the answer was like, oh, it means everything to me, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're just setting yourself up for failure. So this is what I'm saying with parents and the people that you surround yourself with is give different thought process to this, because it's out of your control. So Charlie goes, well, how would you answer it? So this doesn't have to be a first overall answer. It could be the draft period. Is being first overall important to you? Or what does it mean to you? I would say the draft is the draft. I've done everything. Like, I know that you, the media, and everybody out there have to sell things and hype things and you rate people accordingly and you come up with prediction. But I know for a fact that TSN isn't drafting me, or the sports network isn't drafting me. So where you rank me doesn't really matter. But what I can tell you is this: is I've done everything I could to be the best player that I can be. And if everyone thinks I'm number one, great. And if I went number one, I'd be honored and happy, and I'd be thrilled, and I'd feel like, wow, I actually, everything came to fruition for me, and awesome, like incredible. I became the first overall pick, but that's not for me to decide now. I chose, I played, I did what I can do. It's out of my control. Now the Montreal Canadiens, they have to choose if they want to pick me or not, and that has nothing to do with the hype. So I've done everything I can do, and I'll be honored. But my job is I want to play in the NHL. How I get there doesn't really matter. The actual first overall, second overall, like, it's only important to the media. That's all it's important to.
Yeah.
But to be a first overall pick, that's out of my control, man. I just played well. Yeah. So I'd be honored to play, But that's a different answer. It takes your pressure off yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Well, there's two sides to what we're doing, because the whole purpose of professional hockey is that it's an entertainment avenue for people to watch.
Yes.
That's the whole point of it. So when you're coming at it from the perspective of the news media or the fans or whoever, all that hype stuff, I'm not saying I like it or anything, but it makes sense because that's what the whole point is. The whole point is entertainment, to draw people in to watch and all that kind of stuff.
Understood.
So I get that. But coming from the hockey player side of it, this is where what you're saying is really important, because people can start to get into the hype and they can start to get into the things that don't matter, which is what position you get drafted in, how good your style is on the ice, being like a beauty, living the lifestyle, like all those things we talk about from the hockey player perspective that don't really matter. That's where, as the players and as the families involved, you can start to get sucked into that because you're surrounded by it because of the industry of entertainment. That's what they're trying to do. They need to sell a product so that people want to watch and make it interesting. So as a player going into this kind of a situation, and it could be a draft, it could be whatever hype situation you could be surrounded by. It's just important to remember, and that's kind of what I think you're saying, is keep the things that are important. If you're Shane Wright, does it actually matter that you go first overall? Not really, because there's so many picks that get all these first round guys. Like they're talking about the guy that got picked. We were talking about him this morning. The guy that got picked last in the first round that's just like a goof, like dressed in all white.
Guy that went to Tampa. His name was
I got it.
Isaac Howard. Isaac Howard.
That's the name. So
yeah.
So it's like, okay, man, like this is not what it's about. It's about trying to make it, and you get all these first round picks that never end up playing anyways.
Yep.
It's just like in the OHL, you get all these first rounders that don't actually end up doing anything or playing or being professionals or whatever. So it's like, what's the goal?
Yeah.
Right? Is your goal that you want to get drafted first overall to the NHL? Again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Obviously, it's a nice feather in the cap, nice moment to have, and all that. But it's like, man, now you're trying to be a professional hockey. Is that what it is? Isn't, when you were a little kid, didn't you want to be a professional hockey? Isn't that what you actually wanted?
NHL.
It's not about the suit that you wear to the draft.
Right.
It's not about getting the interviews and all that kind of stuff. Like, that shouldn't be what your main driver is. And it's a really nice ego pat. Like, it's cool to be the guy that gets interviewed, and it feels nice to get the attention and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like humans are kind of just wired for that. Like, we like the prestige of those kinds of things. But that isn't what the important thing is, and it's easy. You watched last night, like the camera pans to his face. I saw a couple updates of just like Shane Wright's face.
You want to catch him at a weak moment where he's devastated.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's like, we're talking about an 18-year-old, So it's like he's a kid. So, and again, I understand that that's the entertainment business. Like, you're trying to make a story and you're trying to make a sale, and I get that. I don't like it or really agree with it, but that's what ends up making things interesting for the average sports fan, is all that kind of shit. The trades, the controversies, all that kind of stuff.
For the fan.
Yes. But this is just the player side of it, right?
Yeah, and then the other side is that Montreal was hosting the draft in their hometown, and it was like, I know they didn't care what the fans and what the media thought, but they're sitting there and they're actually having to make a hard decision, right? Because he's been hyped so much to go to Montreal as the first overall pick. Now they're making the pick, and you can see some people going, "What are you talking about? You didn't take him? Like, what are you guys, idiots? Like, come on, man."
I know.
It's like a fan doesn't scout, but like the Montreal Canadiens that draft who they draft, but now they got to explain why they didn't take the other guy.
Right.
It's like, it's not your business. So the other side of it is like someone hypes up, the media hypes up the one player that's they feel is the number one player, but the Montreal Canadiens have different plans, man.
Yeah.
That's not the player that fits into their plans the same way. They see this big, I believe, a right-handed power forward that is neck and neck with him, and I would say that's a great choice, man. That's who I was picking anyways. Was the big Slafkovsky, just based on what I saw and the size and the hands and that's who I take. Yeah. That's 100% who I was taking if I was them. But of course, I got no skin in the game.
Well, yeah, and then you got.
And then they started making trades and building around that. So it's like, so TSN, shove it up your ass.
Well, and then you look at number 2, right? So New Jersey comes and they pick a D. It's like, oh my God, like now he's third. And it's like, yeah, because New Jersey needs a D, man. They don't need a forward, So with your very, very top pick in the first round, if you don't need a first line centerman in 5 years or 3 years or however long it takes Shane Wright to become a established player in the league, if he is to do that, if they already have guys that are like that, which New Jersey through their lineup, they have a ton of young forwards up front
Well,
already.
they're strong up the middle,
right?
Apparently, they're strong up the middle.
I know. So it's like, if that's what they think is their organization, why would I have a chance to get one of the top 3 best players in the world?
Yeah.
And my team right now, we have no D. It's like, you're going to take a D. So it doesn't matter that you didn't just pick Shane Wright because he's the highest, you know, or whatever. So then he falls to 4th, and it's like, man, that's not a problem. Like, that's not an actual problem.
4th is fourth is first.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, that's ridiculous, right? Especially
if he would have felt a 39th, that would have been like, wow, that kid really.
Yeah. Well, especially if it's a draft like this where there isn't really a clear first overall, where it's like the exceptional, like McDavid was, or go through the last several years where you have those guys that are just like, nobody's coming close to this guy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, we have to take him. There's not one centerman we have that will ever.
This is like a generational player, or whatever, right? So when it's a balanced draft, that's where the hype starts to play, and they try to make it that. Like every year, they try to make it the Sidney Crosby draft.
So next year it's going to be Connor Bedard, I think.
Right.
I think it's next year. That's the hype train, and I hope this young guy takes it in stride and just plays well and parks it, because you never know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what would be nice. So just, again, as the players that are involved and the families that are involved, if you're in a situation where and like you said, it's not even about the first overall, because there's not very many kids that are going to be in that position to deal with that situation, but just being drafted in general. Like, you see it happen to guys all the time that they expected to be a second round pick and they went 5th round, or they expected to get drafted and they didn't, or whatever. And it's like, there's ways that you can prepare yourself for this, and there's ways that you can prepare your kids for that, because they are just kids, man. They're still just kids. Like, you see guys that are 20, like we had O-Dog in here today, is going to be 22 or 21, 22. It's like, he's still a kid, man. Like, he comes in, he has all this experience of playing hockey, and he's like a kid, man. You know, he's not a grown man yet.
No, he's a young man.
He's a young man, and it's like the amount of pressure that type of social situation can put on you, getting that much attention. It's like, kids aren't ready for that, man. They don't have their brains yet, and it's important that you give them tools and skills to deal with that kind of pressure, to whatever magnitude it is, whether you're first overall or you're potentially getting drafted, or you just play in the OHL and you're trying to get ice time, whatever the situation is. Like, it's important that you try to equip the kids to do that from the player side, you know, not just thinking of it like a fan. Yeah.
Well, and so the last thing I was going to say about that is, like, I said I felt bad for him. I felt like I don't know the kid. Don't, like, of course you want everyone to do well. I really do. But so I'm sitting there, and when they took the first pick, they panned the camera on him, and, you know, he made the face like, you know, I'm good. Like, whatever. That's the way it goes. You know, that's the way, you know, good. But it was unnecessary, right? Totally unnecessary. And then the second, third, like, they put the camera on a few times. You could see him sweating it out, because unnecessarily he failed. But he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He already did his thing. He played.
Yeah.
And now he's like sitting in a situation where everybody in that arena is looking at him. Oh, you didn't go first. You're not that good, or that, because that's what people love to do, right? Yeah. Ha ha ha. Or, I can't believe it. But anyways, there's whatever, how many thousand people everyone was looking at him, and the talk was about him, and everybody on TV. You could just see him, like, he's about as comfortable as a fart in church in that place right now, right? Like, it's brutal, and his parents and all that stuff. It's like, you have to prepare yourself for that stuff. And it's, guys, I'm not saying that you just prepare yourself. That's hard, because people are pumping your tires all the time. But anyways, the point is, this is why, another side note here is that this is why getting some adversity is good for you, right? Because remember Charlie's OHL draft, Seabass draft, like, some of the kids, when they go through this, it's really good. Like, that's why being the best of the best of the best all the time isn't necessarily good. So he was in exceptional status. He didn't have to go through the highs and lows of getting drafted, or the disappointments of, someone told me that they wanted to take me and they didn't. Like, what the hell at 15, 16, right? So that's why, like, sometimes it's good to get a little bit of a shit sandwich, so that you can actually go, oh, I can put this in perspective now. But for parents and kids, like, prepare yourself for reality, right? and not disappointment that you didn't get in the first overall. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, to your point there. It's a manufactured failure. It wasn't an actual. You didn't actually
You didn't
fail anything.
Went fourth overall,
right?
man.
Yeah, you went fourth overall. It's like that's actually a ridiculous success. Like you're going to be every time we go back and we look at the draft list, like you're etched in history now, dude. Like it was a fantastic accomplishment. Like holy crap. And that's a failure. Like so he's going to go home to his family party that they're supposed to have, and it's just going to be like a little more quiet than it might have been because they thought he was going to be first overall or whatever. And who knows? Like I hope,
honestly, I hope he got that out of the system real fast, which I think he did.
Yeah, hopefully.
You know what I mean? Okay, I'm in Seattle Kraken now. This is awesome. Woo!
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
hopefully that's the case, and hopefully that's the support he's getting from his family. I don't know anything about him personally or his family life or anything like that, but I would hope that he didn't have a cake waiting at home that said congratulations first overall on it.
Yeah.
Right? Because that would be stupid.
Yeah.
So,
but you could take the 1 and you could just add like the make the 4. You could just do that, change the colors from red, blue, and white to green and blue.
That's right. That's right.
Poor freaking kid.
Well, and that's I think the whole message is don't unnecessarily manufacture failures for yourself, right? Because things that it really comes down to how you're looking at things, right? It's the glass half full, glass half empty kind of situation. It's like you need to see what the reality is of the situation, and there's ways that you can prepare for that, and there's ways that you can set yourself up to fail, you know. And so we have a bunch of guys now that they're starting to get to those higher levels, and they're going to be coming across those situations, and it's not if something doesn't go exactly the way that you wanted it to go in your head, that doesn't mean it's a failure.
That's right.
You know, that doesn't mean it's a failure. Like I played road hockey in my front little cul-de-sac there when I was a kid every day, playing when I won the Stanley Cup and playing when I got drafted and playing all that kind of stuff. And I didn't get any of that.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that I am a failure at life and I can't do anything well and I'm no good at anything and I wasn't a good player and it was a waste of my time and it was a waste of my energy and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean any of that.
Yeah.
You know? And it's really important that you guys know that, especially the kids coming up, because it can be devastating, man. Like you can see kids just freaking getting crushed by the pressure of everything that's going on around them because they don't have any tools to deal with it. So it's just really important that you make sure as the kid you're doing the best you can to prepare yourself for those realities, and then as the family you're doing the same thing, you know.
Well, it was really neat yesterday because as you're talking about that, I was thinking about like we have like some of our kids that didn't get the glory early, and now they got like we got Caleb who got a full ride to St. Cloud State.
Yeah,
that's a
right.
Great school, man.
Yeah.
What a good player, and he just kept pushing on, and he just, hey, I gotta play hockey because I love it, right? We got Adam that's going to RIT. We got like all these guys are going to get their glory. It'll come, man.
Yeah.
But what was really neat to kick off the draft last night is Martin St. Louis was the coach of the Canadians.
Yeah.
Did you see his little talk?
No.
Anyways, it was interesting. Like I'm like, just get the draft. Like I have a hard time not swearing about this, right?
Yeah.
But just get it going. Pick your guys. Like what's with the stuff. But anyways, he was talking about how this draft day is like very exciting for some of you guys. And here's a guy who was never drafted. He goes, "This is the first draft that I've been attended. He attended." And he played how many years? I think he's a Hall of Fame. I don't know if it's Hall of Fame, but there you go, man.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what the draft means.
Yeah,
at the end of the day. And he just told us, guys, if you want to do this, you can accomplish anything you want. And this is a guy that's like 5'7". Do anything you want. Just keep pushing forward. And I think that was, out of the draft, I think that was the best message that was there from a guy that actually was in that situation.
Yeah.
Right?
Seriously. And just like looking at the list here too, it was because I didn't watch all of it, like I said, but
my friend, a guy I grew up with, played goalie with my brother. His son went 5th overall to Philly.
Oh yeah,
yeah, Cutter Goche.
Goche.
Yeah, way to go, Cutter. Awesome.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. Sudbury, Ontario boy. Well, Sean was his dad.
Yeah.
Did I ever? Oh, sorry. Can I just tell you this story?
Sure.
Charlie was asking me this last night. How do you know Cutter? Because he.
Which, by the way, Cutter.
Well, it's the best name.
What a
ever.
name,
Might
dude.
be the best. It's better name than Charlie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I should have named my kid Cutter. Isn't that a great name?
Yeah.
His middle name is Rules.
Really?
Yeah, Cutter Rules Goche. Yeah, isn't that great?
That's
Good looking
cool.
kid, eh? Big boy.
Yeah.
So, I was talking to his dad. So my brother. I don't know if this is in the history of the world this ever happened. Charlie was asking, what's the connection with you and Goche? Because weren't you supposed to train him like 2 years ago? I said, yeah, but he was in the U.S. This, whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, let me tell you a quick story. My brother's growing up, Sean Gauthier and my brother Daryl Paquette and another goalie named Richard Shelmistra
Oh, yeah, you told me this.
played all their life,
Yeah.
right?
Minor hockey. Yeah.
Minor hockey life together. One of them always had to cut. It was always someone always had to get cut. It was always Richard. So Sean, a minor midget, Sean Gauthier, Cutter's dad, who's a really good goalie. Him and my brother were the 1-2 tandem. They were unreal. Cutter moves up to major midget, I think it was, or maybe he moved away. I can't remember exactly. Did I say Cutter?
Yeah,
Sean moves
Yeah.
away. My brother is the goalie now, and Richard Shelmistra is not a backup, the 1-2. Okay?
Mhm.
All three end up playing professional
Yeah.
hockey. My
Yeah.
brother signed with Washington. Sean signed or got drafted to Winnipeg. Richard Shelmistra went to whatever college, and then he played with New Jersey.
Mhm.
So you take a small city like, and then Brian Savage was their top centerman. So 4 good guys. One had to get cut. Out of all those guys, Richard Shelmistra, the kid that never made the team, played the most games in the NHL.
Really? Eh?
But how does that happen
It's
in a
crazy,
small
man.
town?
I know. You got
That
three
you have
guys.
three
that are
guys that
that
can play in
good.
the NHL.
Yeah.
You can't even find one goalie to be a junior guy in most places.
Yeah. Seriously. That's
Three
hilarious.
kids had NHL contracts from one team.
So
It's incredible.
I'm looking at the list right now from the first round, and interesting, only two of the 32 were OHL picks.
Yep.
Lots from the Dub, lots from the U.S. National Development Program,
Yep.
and
Europe.
bunch of Europeans, man.
Most of it was
Like
Europe.
we got a lot of Europeans here, man. It's
Yeah. It's
that
pretty
Slovak league, the Liga or whatever. Is that how you say it?
incredible.
It's like it's so like here's the thing, right? It's like for the guys that like even if you're playing in the OHL or whatever, it's like you think you're there, eh? It's like you think you're there, you think you made it. It's like you're not even close. We got 2 guys in the OHL that were in the first round, right?
Yeah.
So that's 2 over. Is there 7 rounds?
There's 7
So
rounds.
that's 14 on if that's the average,
Yeah.
which it'll probably end up being more than that. But let's say it's
Yeah.
even if on average you got 4 picks, right?
Yeah.
You're talking 30 guys
Yeah.
that are drafted from the OHL
Yeah.
in the whole NHL draft.
Yeah.
So in the OHL, where you're like the best of the best development league, we're talking 30 guys.
Yeah.
Of the whole league.
Yeah.
In that draft year that are
Yeah.
getting, you know,
it's
like
it's very cyclical
Yeah.
too. Like some years
Oh,
you'll
yeah.
have like
Yeah,
half
for sure.
half of it's CHL.
Yep.
But here the bottom line is there's like this when you start looking at numbers like that, you're going to realize it's such a huge world. Like one kid got drafted out of a Minnesota high school first round yesterday.
really.
Yeah. I know. You go, what? Well, because he's
Who?
big and he's good. I forget his last
What
name.
you got around the pick?
So I think it's 17 to 20, 25.
Minnesota. No. Wait, I want to see who this is. Yeah. Chaska High.
Yeah.
Sam Renzel.
Yeah, don't be
6'3",
shocked.
6'3", 180, high school.
Yeah, but this is
25th overall.
but this is the thing. Don't think you're good, man.
I know.
No, I know. I'm not even saying that like a smartass. Don't think you're good. Like this is why I always say to everybody, you have to go in there and underestimate how good you are, overestimate how good everybody else is, and work like work like you're second, and believe in yourself like you're first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%, man.
You have to like, and these aren't just words.
Yeah.
That fifth gear that you have when everything's locked in, clicked in, that's how you have to be every single day, and then work harder than you did the other day.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're ever going to make it, kid.
Yeah, seriously.
Because it's so good. Like, and I got to be honest with you. I really enjoy watching how good the world of hockey is because it shocks people that 2 people from Slovakia. How good is Sweden? It's really good. So the other side of this is like maybe Hockey Canada, maybe, even though we're producing numbers, incredible numbers, but maybe other people are doing things just as well or better. You think? And I would say that the one thing that the European countries do way better, and that's, Dale that works for us, played in Denmark for a long time. He said physically they're in shape. Like nobody's business. He goes, we can't compete with their fitness levels. He goes, part of it is because they grow up and a lot of them have to do military service, so they get that right away. But Webby went over there to Sweden for a while, and he come back and goes, boy, do these guys work. He goes, they work.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah, it's a big world.
Yeah, for sure. So on that note, thinking about players coming from other places, it's like you don't know what they do, right? And this is the other thing. So it's like even I'm looking at 10th overall Pavel Minchikov that came from Saginaw, defenseman, good player. I like watching him, man. He's good. So he's from, I would imagine, Russia. So this guy's from the OHL on paper, but he's from Russia, right? So speaking of Dale talking about when he was playing in Denmark, he was saying that their 2-mile time was expected to be under 12 minutes.
Yeah, 2-mile run.
2-mile run. So if you go to the standard 400-meter track, that's 8 laps.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're doing 8 laps, that's going to get you more or less 3,200 meters, right? So that is fast.
Yeah, you're running.
That is fast. So the top kid that we had doing it, which it didn't include everybody, but the top kid that we had, it was over 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And he's 17 years old.
Yeah.
This kid hums. This kid's got an absolute tank on him.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody else broke 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking like professional athletes coming from Europe. They're not here. Everyone always talks about how tough the Canadian hockey players are. It's like, yeah, maybe we have some grit and we have some toughness. These guys are in shape, man. These guys can go forever and not get tired.
Yeah.
Like these are the guys you're competing with, right? And this is why people get when we talk about the seriousness of like when you're trying to be an actual good professional. Like how serious you have to take it. It's like, this is the competition, dude.
Yeah.
You think you can run a 12-minute 2-mile? If you think you can, you're off your rocker. If you think you can do that, like that is fast, man. That is humming. And so these guys are,
and typically by a pretty big kid. That's some little runner guy.
For the
big
weight
legs,
too. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, for the weight,
muscular, right? not just a marathon looking guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like there's so many different pieces of the puzzle. It's like, yeah, you got the grit, okay, but are you in shape though? Do you have the skill? Can you skate like this guy can skate? Can you see the ice the way that this guy can skate? And when you look at a draft like this and you have these kids that are coming from all corners of the globe, all with different training styles, maybe to your point of Hockey Canada, maybe let's take a look beyond just what's right in front of our nose here, because they have some things that we don't have.
Absolutely.
And this is why I mentioned this the other day when we were talking about kind of just some training concepts. Somebody had asked me, is there anything we can take from bodybuilding as athletes? And it's like, don't close any doors to any resources ever. Like you never write off something because you think it's stupid or that's not how we do it here or nobody I know does that or whatever. You should have all the doors, all the windows open, just on the off chance you can pick something up from somebody or from something that is helpful, because it's so competitive that you're looking at some of these kids. And the crazy thing about this too is that most of these kids, I would wager, aren't going to be NHL pros for very long in that first round. Of those 32 picks, I would love to see, I don't know if there's a stat on that, but how long the average...
We're going to know in about 8 years. Yeah. 8 years who's actually going to establish himself as a pro, because again, it's the first date right now. It's the jersey, it's the pictures, it's you're the best. We're so thrilled to have them. But then the reality is when are you fitting in that lineup? When you go to, if you're going to that kid that got drafted to Tampa, when do you think you're playing there? And he might be there in 2 years.
Well, let's do this. Let's pick a year. Pick any year in the last decade.
Last decade, okay. 2000. I'd like to go Ep.90 Draft 2014.
2014.
Yeah, 2014
NHL
Ep.90 Draft.
All right. So Ep.90 Draft was obviously first overall.
So that's Aaron Ekblad.
Yeah, Aaron. So he's got 500 games, 554 games played, 8 seasons. Sam Reinhart, number 2, 532 games, 8 seasons. Draisaitl, good draft.
Yeah, it's good draft.
Jesus Christ. Draisaitl, 8 seasons, 558. Bennett, 483, 8 seasons. Now this is where we start to get the drop off. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 picks.
Yeah.
That have played basically every year. Okay. Next pick, number 5. You remember who it was?
No.
Michael Del Cole.
Wow. Played in Oshawa.
Yep. 112 games
Yeah.
over 5 seasons. I want to see where he's at now. And he's still in the AHL. So he plays for Bridgeport, AHL.
Yep.
Next one, Jake Virtanen.
Oh, he fell apart.
Yeah, 317, 6
Yeah.
seasons, and he's gone now. Is he plays still?
No, he went to, I think, I think he had, there were some issues. There's some issues.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So there's a reason. He had some issues.
So we got 4 picks so far.
Yeah.
5 and 6 gone. So he's in the KHL now, Virtanen.
Yeah.
7. I'll just do the top 10.
Yeah, go.
7.
It's great.
Hayden Fleury.
Yeah.
Remember him?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't even remember him.
Yeah.
So he's played 300 games, 6 seasons. No, sorry, 200 games, 5 seasons.
Yep.
For Hayden Fleury.
Yep.
He was drafted 7th overall to the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yep.
Number 8 is Nylander. And Fleury's now on Seattle. He's been up and down.
Yep. Good player. It's still early.
Yeah, he's
Not
in
really,
Seattle. It is and it isn't.
Yeah.
Next one was Nylander, 8th overall, 7 seasons, 430 games. 9th overall, Winnipeg.
Oh, that's not the Willie Nylander.
William.
Okay.
Yep, Nylander. Yep. Winnipeg Jets, Nikolai Ehlers.
Good
7
player.
seasons. 10 Anaheim Ducks, Nick Ritchie.
No, he's done.
So he's fallen off too now. So now for the rest of that first round, whereas like this is the most you're gonna get. So we had other notable names would be Larkin, 15th to Detroit. Tony DeAngelo.
Yep.
Notable name, but 200 games.
Yep.
Robbie Fabry.
Yep.
Jared McCann. So for the rest of those guys, we got like 4 seasons, 42 games, 3 seasons, 53 games, 3 seasons, 37 games. Number 23, Connor Bleakley. He went to Colorado, nothing.
Yep.
Not 1 game. As soon as you get to round number 2,
she drops off.
She drops off quick, man.
Krejci or Pastajov was drafted that year, 2nd or 3rd round, wasn't it?
Krejci?
Not Pastajov. That's
not
Charlie's
Pastajov.
buddy. Pasta in Boston.
Pasternak. Yeah, he was 25th overall to Boston. 510 games.
So you go do that whole draft over.
Yep.
Aaron may or may not be the 1st overall.
Well,
he still could be.
You got Leon Draisaitl.
I know.
3rd,
I know.
right? So anyways, point being, you look back on some of these guys, because once you get to the 2nd round, it's like in that 2nd round, there's another 32 picks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of them never played 1 game. And only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 played over 100 games.
Yep.
Only 7.
Yep.
In that 2nd round played over 100 games in NHL.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like you think you're there, man. You think you're there.
Man, I'm telling you, there's a lot of late bloomers. There's a lot of kids like I think we talked about NCAA and OHL last year. There's that. So do you develop more in the NCAA? You're a little bit older, or whatever. We look at those 2 things, but we remember I said like the Americans, most of the Americans think of the OHL and they don't even know what it is because that process doesn't even make sense to them.
Yeah.
Well, okay, what about a kid in Sweden? Like their process is different. They're not thinking National Hockey League at 18 necessarily because they're playing in a pro Swiss league or a Swedish league, Finnish league, and all that stuff. Like guys just continue to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys, I'm telling you, man, those guys in Europe that are playing in these club teams even, like I said before, they work.
Yep.
They work. So if they're working their ass off and they're very talented, then that's why look at Detroit. They Yzerman, right? He's building his they got their Swedish or European scout and he's building the best guys from out there. There's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason, man.
Yeah, seriously. So I had kind of just like an interesting thought. So if you're, because I don't know a lot about like the backside process of this either. So like maybe you know more than me, maybe you don't, but we could just talk about it, see where we take it. So when you're trying to build the team as one of these professional organizations, at what point from maybe some of the people that you've talked to, around what pick, let's say, if we can put a kind of number on it, does it start to be like this guy probably won't be a organization changing player, And how do you build? So if I'm Montreal and I have the first overall pick versus your Tampa Bay or Edmonton had the last pick of the first round, how does that change? How would that change your perspective on like how you're shaping your team or like what it means for the draft? Because to me, it seems like if you're outside the top 5, it's like now it's kind of like I don't know. You know
I
what
don't
I
know
mean?
what though.
Like I don't know what this player is going to end up being. I feel like if you're inside the top 5, it's like this guy's going to be. If he doesn't pan out to be a top player in the NHL,
It was a bad draft.
then, or it's just kind of the kid was a bust,
Yeah.
right? Like you were expecting him to be good and he was just
Yeah.
a bust. But after pick number 5, it's like, what are we expecting out of these guys coming in? So if we look at even guys that are up there, so what are my expectations of that player coming to my team?
That's a really good question.
Do you have anything like from people you've talked to or like scouts you've talked to or like what they expect when they're going into a draft like that?
No, that's a really good question. I can't give you an answer on that.
What about even from the OHL? Like, what about the OHL perspective? Like, because it would be the same thing, just scaled, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, wow, the OHL is a tough one too because you're looking at, the kid that's maybe a little bit more advanced and stronger has got a bit of an advantage. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's why you can beat the interview process to death, right? You really can, but I think if you do it correctly and really do your homework, I think you could get probably a better read on what type of player you're going to get.
Yeah.
Like I honestly, if I was running an organization, and I mean, I don't know if you can do this to 600 people, but I mean, the area scouts and all that stuff, they do a good job. I guess if you identify the players that you like, I would do homework till the cows come home, because both ways, right? People can fool you with their their disguise of like I'm a hard worker, I stay out of shit and all that stuff, but like they can fool you with that, but they can also fool you with how hard they actually work, because they're not all shits and giggles, right? Or they're not maybe the best guy. So that's why you'll get a guy that a Martin St. Louis or whatever man, whatever pick, and they shock the shit out of you, but that team probably saw the one thing, like Nick Paul. Like what a player this guy is, right? But anyways, my point is, you never know. Like, so if I'm looking at a team, someone asked me the other day, was it you? Someone asked me, would you build his team? Maybe it was Mitchie, asking me if I was running a team, would I build my team like would I go with a skill guy, or like what would I do? And I go, every single time, for me,
yeah,
I don't think skill's worth a diddly shit if you don't have the grit. Right? So I need to know that a guy has so much fire. Like, for example, yesterday we were doing a scrimmage. Mitchie asked a couple of kids, and he knew the score. We were playing a cross ice game or whatever mini game, and most of the kids didn't know the score. He asked the one kid, and the kid goes 4-0, because he knows. And he competes, and he's trying to make plays, and he gets not upset like a little baby kind, but it's important that he wins and he knows the score and it's done properly. Like, there's a little thing there. Okay, put that one. Go to the guy's gym, find out what he's working on. Like, hey, I would for a scout, if anyone that comes through this, I would be so thrilled for them to say, what are your workouts like? Because I know our kids, they'll go, okay, so on May 28th, this is what I ate, and it's dialed in. That's something.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's something. This kid's been doing this and this for that long. I've got 2 years of workout sitting there. So number one, he knows how to work out. He writes it down. He's aware of his stuff. He eats right, whatever. What do you do on the ice and all these things? Who do you hang out? Who do you hang out with? Ask those questions like, how do you play? Like, because I know in the interview process that a lot of the times they ask questions and it's like, who does your game resemble? And they write down, okay, this guy, and it's maybe not that much thought, but I would dig into that so much, right? And really dig. You're going to find your players that way.
Yeah.
So, anyways, long answer or a long bunch of bullshit to say I don't know the answer to that. Like, I don't know when they say. I don't think it's going to make a difference, but I honestly, if I'm. Like, I think Steve Yzerman is unbelievable. Like, I think the way he builds it.
My boy.
Well, hey, dude.
Yeah.
You got to give credit to where he is, man. This guy's smart. Look what he did in Tampa. That's his team.
Right.
That's his team.
Yeah.
Now he's going to Detroit. And you just look at even how he fired the coach. Think about this, okay? Everybody knew Jeff Blashill was going to get fired. Okay, and people were saying like, why did fire him? He's not winning. Well, number one, no one's winning with that team, right? It got blown up. You can't win. So he let this guy coach and gave him an opportunity. And I'm not saying good or bad. But he gave the guy the opportunity till the point is now your time's run out. Now we're not getting any better at all.
Right.
But did he do it at the end of the season or beginning of the season, mid-season, or just frustrated? No, he let him go out like really gracefully.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if it was a mutual or whatever. It doesn't matter. But he even let that go properly.
Yeah.
So then he's got these draft picks, and you can start to see it build. And in a couple of years, you watch the Detroit Red Wings.
Right.
He's going to have the right places. Now he's got the coach for the right time to come in at the right time and place, and boom. So my point is, again, long story short, short story long, is there's guys out there that know exactly what they're doing, and I don't think they say 29th overall, like, whatever. I think at 7th, last pick of the draft, they're looking at, no, this guy has this, and we're going to see it develop, and you don't give up on him. And you look at the Detroit Red Wings themselves, you've got the Tommy Holmstroms, the Datsyuks, the Zetterbergs that were drafted late anyways.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're getting, man. You don't know.
Yeah.
That's why the homework is huge.
And this is just back to the hype thing. People don't see the build. So people don't see the backside where it's like, my one uncle, he's a Wings fan. He's a sports fan. He's like your typical sports fan, like just knows all the players, knows the league, keeps up with the news, keeps up with the controversy, keeps up with everything. And he's always like, it's a very, very short-sighted emotional reactions to watching sports, right? Fire the coach. This guy sucks. They need to trade this guy. Well, yeah, but there's a process. But yeah, there's a lot of things going into this.
Saying that, you fire the coach. So let's go Jeff Blashill. Fire him 2 years ago for who?
Exactly.
Who are you going to bring in?
Exactly.
You're not going to change the team.
Yeah, the team sucks.
The team
right?
sucks. And that guy did everything he could. He probably he didn't have any hair, but he probably pulled it all out.
Yeah. They need time, right?
Yeah.
And people don't see that back side of it. So Yzerman sits up in the box, and every time they get scored on, it pans up to Steve Yzerman, just like, oh, what's he doing with this team? Meanwhile, he's got like the next 5 years mapped out in his book, and this is how it's going to go for the next 5 years, and people don't see that part of it when you're trying to build a team. So having said that, I think this would be an interesting tangent to get your perspective on, because looking at the draft, again, you see these guys are coming from all over the place. So we got Slovakia, we got the KHL, we got WHL, we got SHL, we got National Development Program, high school kids, whatever. So if we're looking over into Europe and over into Russia, so you went to Russia to train.
Yep.
You've been to Sweden. You've been, I don't know,
Finland.
You've been most of these places, and you have resources in those places, like somebody like Paulie who coaches over there and all that kind of stuff. So if you had to compare like some of the focuses and differences in how they develop players and kind of where they put their emphasis, if you're Russian versus some of the Swedish or European leagues versus in North America versus even Canada to the States or whatever. Do you remember like when you're over there training? I'm particularly thinking about Russia. When you were over there training the Russian players, was there a particular focus or things you saw that were different in the way they did things in terms of training their players to get them ready for professional? That was how they did it, or what the process was, or kind of what the comparison looks like.
It was, I think, one of the reasons Igor brought me over, because it was kind of going in shambles of training.
Mm-hmm.
In his mind, it was kind of like there was no clue. Mm-hmm. So when I went there, I think that's what the case was. He actually told me that. He goes, our coaches need to see good practices and good training because it's gone. So I can't give you a good answer on that. And their fitness was like, there wasn't anything fancy, man. There wasn't this anywhere.
Really?
Yeah, I was.
That's surprising. I'm thinking of like
Igor's
old Soviet Union, like military camp,
yeah,
right?
But this is the thing. That's how it used to be.
Right.
And to me, that's kind of the best, except for it was extreme.
Yeah.
But like, I was with Igor's son a couple times. I go, where's the gyms around here? And we were in Balashika, just outside of Moscow. And it was like, we were talking to the boys about this yesterday, how Moscow was like, every girl that walks by is, I mean, within reason, a high percentage of girls that walk by are wearing nice skirts, their hair's done, they're beautiful, like classy. And it's like, this is like downtown Moscow. You go, this is unbelievable. It's like modern, And then you go where I was staying in Balashika, and it's like, what the hell? Toothless, homeless, and there's
Really?
nothing familiar. So Igor's brother goes, yeah, people go here, they do chin-ups on monkey bars and stuff like that, parks and stuff. So training was horseshit
Wow.
until you're in a club situation. So I don't know. So Igor brought me over there to actually teach. So that when I was there's a whole bunch of coaches watching my things and asking questions and filming to
Right.
take stuff with them. So not a good comparison.
Yeah.
What was good is how they did it before, which I think resembles what they do in Sweden, Swiss, because my best friend is Paulie DiPietri. He's assistant coach with Lugano in Switzerland with Chris McSorley, and he was with Zug before in Switzerland, and they have the club system. So the club systems are very similar to what soccer does.
Yeah.
Only they don't necessarily take them all over the world. And to me, that's your best training. Is it doable here in Canada? I think it is. But it's got to be a whole flip of the mind. And Eric Wellwood and I were talking about that before. Wouldn't that be something to do the club system? So, like, instead of the OHL just being the OHL, that you had NHL teams that had teams, junior teams or club teams or whatever, and then you actually just don't make the playoffs every year. You're not even in the league. You have to qualify. So then it takes your development, just like soccer. I'm just saying what soccer does.
Yeah.
Then you develop, and now the Detroit Red Wings actually give a shit about a 10-year-old,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
They see this kid, it's a 10-year-old that's actually good, and they put him in a system like what's the Ronaldos and the whatever, right? And they develop in that, and then if they're not good, they go back home.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that is the best system because you're learning the system within the system and the training, and it's like you're programmed, right?
And that's the European system. That's how they're
it's
doing
more or less
hockey over there.
Well, I think I'm not saying everywhere, but
Right,
they
right.
do have like the good programs. Like EV Zug in Switzerland has the pro team, the junior team, the junior whatever you call the JV whatever, all the way down club, and they do their training. It's school, it's whatever. I think that's the best way, and I think you know what, the way this crazy shit's going right now, why not?
Yeah.
Like I would have said a few years ago, like let them have fun and all that stuff, but people are moving away and doing crazy shit anyways. I actually think that maybe that's the way to go. And I'm not saying 10, but I'm saying probably maybe around the Bantam age, when you start identifying kids that are 12, 13 years old, and you put a program. So let's just say like in the southwestern Ontario region, if you put a program that's like you take a big Chrysler or Hiram Walker or a big booze company, a big like $1 billion company, and they say, yeah, let's invest in this, just like Liverpool does. They have a big, huge corporate sponsors, and it's like that's their business.
Yeah.
So like let's just say one of our local billionaires around this area, or $100 to millionaire guy, says, I'm going to develop this team. And you have this, right? Think about it. This is actually a great setup.
I know this is what I was just going to get to. Yeah.
So your coaches come in and you're coaching the 12-year-old team. Okay, that's your job, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
And where did you coach before? Well, you were the head coach of the you're the head coach of the Oshawa Generals before. You did that for 5 years. Really? You're going to coach Bantam? Yeah. We're here to develop kids. We're developing for this program, and then now you have your coaches all in one system.
Yeah.
You have the same thought patterns, like you got the same people thinking the same thing, same goal. So like now your success as a Bantam coach or a U14 coach has a huge stake into how the pro team and the junior team develop. So now, do you think the pro coach, or like if Steve Yzerman, we'll say we're the Detroit Red Wings organization, right? Club Detroit, Club Red Wings.
Yeah.
So now you're here training kids, and you're outside of my program now, like Steve Yzerman's program. No, you're not spending enough time on small area games. You're not doing it. You have to do that, and or else you're fired, and you care because you might be the next coach of the club team or the pro team one day.
Yeah.
Right. And you're taking these kids up, and it's a family. So the next thing is you've got the 14s seeing on the ice after or before the 15s or the 16s, and the 16s seeing the juniors. Everybody wants to get to that next level, and you know what it takes.
Yeah.
And you see everybody every day, the dedication, the hard work, the everything rubs off, and that's my biggest thing ever. And anything I do, everything you do is the same thing. Who you hang out with, I'll tell you who you're going to be like.
Yeah.
So if you're around like-minded people that are actually goal-driven and in the same system, your chances of success are a lot better, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the thing too is I think a lot of places they try to act like they're doing that anyways, without it being like an official system where that's actually happening, one step to the next. because that's probably what you'll see. I know in other sport, you're saying in other sports, it's like that with soccer, particularly in Europe, where you have that this step, then this step, then this step, then this step. And I think people, like you said, people are looking for that anyways, and that doesn't mean you have to be a lunatic parent or a lunatic person but if that's what the process is, that's what the process is.
Well, but you're not a lunatic. If your kid is okay, so you're a lunatic if you think your kid's a superstar and he's 10.
Yeah.
Kind of a lunatic.
Yeah.
But you have to nurture his skill. I
Right.
get that. But once you start getting 14, 15, there is a time where, like we were talking about playing all kinds of sports, there is a time where you do have to start dialing in, okay, I want to be a hockey player.
Right.
So at that point, that's where those systems could come in really handy.
Yeah.
Or really intelligently, maybe.
Yeah, and it would be good if you had like an affiliation like that, where it's like minor up to junior, up to the next level, up to the next level, because that you incentivize people to actually care about the kids. Because we were talking about this even today. It's like you can pour your heart and soul into a kid, but they have so many places to go, so many things that they can do, and so many different people in their ear all the time that they have a hard time sticking to the plan, right? They have a hard time sticking to the process because they don't see that track. It's not laid out for them the way that we do things here.
Yeah.
And it'd be really good. Like we were talking about the one kid today, it'd be awesome if there was just like, this is the track you're on, stick to this process and don't do things that are going to undercut your track, right?
Yeah. That's right.
And it's important that people understand that. But the way that the systems are now with how they develop kids, it's not really like they have that this is what the process is outlined and defined where they can see it.
Right.
So for those kids that are at the age where they can start to be serious, they don't really know where to go or what to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, can you imagine? So I was thinking about this as we're speaking. So can you imagine, like, people move away now. People go to all, like you said, they're all over the place spending all kinds of money. So now if a club owned you now they own you. They own you now. That's fine though. And then if you're just not good enough to make it, they can release you, and then or another club is able to buy you. It's going to cost you. Like if I develop you now, here's the other interest in developing a player. If I can develop you, and you've been in PowerTech or Detroit Red Wings system since 14 or 12, whatever, and I've developed you, and you're really good. And now if Club Chicago wants you, like it's financially good for you'll pay.
Yeah,
you're going to pay.
That's right.
But now think of this. It makes life actually kind of simpler. Your Club Detroit is run by Steve Yzerman, let's say, or whatever company, and now we have one power skating coach or two. This power skating coach doesn't have to run around all over the freaking place with their skates trying to teach it, trying to get things. Now they can have this, 4 or 5 teams that they work with exclusively, and the power skating is run by her or him. Yeah. Period. Mm-hmm. Right? And the skill stuff and the coaching and the X's and O's and stuff, the fitness, and then these people can sit together and like collaborate as a team. I think it's the best way to go.
Well, and it brings
and here's Maurice Sider.
Yeah.
Detroit Red Wings. He was a first-round pick. Remember a couple of years ago? Was it last year, the year before, when he was drafted? People were like, "What? Why would they take him? They had all these other people. I think he went 5th or 7th overall." Well, guess what? He just won this year. He won the Calder?
Yeah, Calder,
Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Victor Hedman didn't.
Yeah.
And he's like big like that, and he plays. Yeah. He might be better than that. Who knows? That's right. So he came out of a German system like that.
Well, and the thing too is it brings like a community element to it too. Because one thing I find with us, particularly with minor hockey, as kids start to come up the ranks, even with us, we have the Windsor Spitfires here, right? But there's no like connection. There's no connectivity between the minor system and the junior system, and from the junior system to whatever the closest pro system would be. So it's like even in Toronto, if you look through Toronto, like the Toronto Marlies, there's the AAA team, the Toronto Marlies, the actual team's the AHL team, but there's not really like these things are actually connected. They have nothing to do with each other. Even when AAA, it used to be the Windsor Junior Spitfires, but there was actually no connection. So you don't have the coach of the Windsor Spitfires coming in to talk to the 13-year-old team about this kind of stuff.
And part of it is because the draft part is out of their control. So you can, if Billy Bowler and his coaching staff of Mark Savard right now and Andy Delmore and Juggy go in and dedicate extra time to the Adam, Pee Wee, Bantam, and Midget,
doesn't do anything for
Windsor Spitfires. Well, they can get drafted to the London Knights, so you're welcome.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Yeah, it makes it difficult for you to because I didn't even think about that. Like with the draft, it's like now it makes everything so disconnected because you can pick anybody from anywhere. Whereas you have that system, I just feel like it would be way better for the teams because then you actually know the kids, like you said. That like takes the research out of it, right? You're just the ones that you're making these kids into what they're going to be, you know. And maybe it would be easier to do it with the junior systems that aren't the OHL because there isn't a draft. So if you're one of our local teams is the LaSalle Vipers or the Leamington Flyers or whatever, maybe they could have that, and they made one affiliation with a AAA team, and you would think like that would be what we're trying to do. It doesn't really seem like it's going to be anything like that, but that's kind of what you would think. It's like we're trying to build these kids to be at this level at a certain point because we want our organization to be professionally run and to develop good players, you know. But it's hard. You don't get that connection, and the community doesn't come around it where it's like we all are kind of centralized on this path together to get us where we're going. It turns into everyone's competing with each other all the time, right? Instead of everybody's kind of working as a team to get up to these next levels, and it's just part of the process, you know. So that's super interesting. I would love to actually get a good template of what they do in places like that,
trust
like
me,
what it actually looks like.
I would love it. I would love to do that, and I think it's the way to go. And I mean, you basically what I'm saying is you blow up the NHL and the OHL, kinda. You have to start a whole new league because now if you're not good, so this is the other thing. So if you look at the European leagues, you can go from the first league and drop to the second if you're not good enough because you have to be good enough. So now your development is not just you can't just have a bad team. You just can't have a bad team, or else you're losing money. You're losing what level you're playing at and stuff. Like I really like that. And then there's really good second divisions and third divisions, so you could get back and compete and stuff. So it's just really neat. There's just hockey's just done differently. Well, obviously Major League Baseball and football too. It's a North American thing, but it's just done differently, right? And it's just very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think
it's a thought.
For sure, because it wouldn't necessarily have to go up to that professional league too. Like if the NHL still does their draft or whatever, that's fine. But like, what reason does the Windsor Spitfires have for not developing their local area? Like that would just be better. They don't have a reason. Yeah, that would just be better for everyone. Like even in terms of the chemistry, because you know the personalities now that are coming into your program, right? You can shape the character of how your program's going to be run instead of from the draft for the 2022 OHL players, you get the one kid that worked on the farm, the other kid that lived downtown Toronto, and the other kid that's from Michigan, all coming to the same team they don't know anything about each other. They have nothing in common or anything like that. So it just seems like it would better develop even from the team standpoint, like a chemistry or an identity that they have from when they're young or whatever, you know. But because I actually forgot about that. Like soccer is completely like that. Like it's all that club system stuff. There's no drafting. It's just like you move up. Like I didn't even really think about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Messi, right? He moved away, and a lot of these kids they get identified when they're like 10.
Yeah.
Well, you're moving to Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for those guys, I live in a shithole.
Yeah.
I live in a pile of garbage in whatever country I'm from. Of course, I'm going to go Argentina or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, of course you're going to go, and then you make your family build $1 billion.
Yeah.
Right, because the money's there.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's what it is. It's awesome. Like I'm not saying no. I'm actually saying I'd love to see something different for sure. Because there's something about the European way that's working very, very well,
showing itself more and more.
Yeah,
right?
And there's something about the Canadian way, or the American way is actually picking up too. But there's something about the Canadian way that is not so attractive. Like you look at Finland, right? Finland and Slovakia. I don't know what the population of Slovakia is. I have no clue. But a country like Finland and Sweden, okay, let's just take those two. As far as population goes, I was going to say population-wise.
Yeah.
As far as population goes and rinks per capita and all that stuff, it's like diddly shit compared to here.
Yeah.
So what are they doing? That's good. There's something.
Yeah.
There's something. 100%. I love it.
Cool. Well, I think that was like kind of interesting. I actually enjoyed talking about that. That was cool.
We just winged it.
Yeah, we just
went off the rails here.
No, we didn't even do our topic at all. But no. I kind of liked it. So hopefully you guys found that kind of interesting. So do you have anything else you want to say about the draft or anything like that? Well, we just end off that topic. We can wrap it up.
Let me just think here.
Okay.
At what point do we decide to go to the draft or not? And I think, well, first of all, you have to be rated.
Yeah.
But like, if I would be like, honestly, like, understand like the hype and all the it's a dog and pony show, and it's prom night, right?
Yeah, it's prom night.
It's prom
Yeah,
night,
that's
and everyone gets a nice suit and stuff, and your families go down there. But like, for who?
Right.
For who?
Yeah.
You're still getting drafted if you're sitting at home. And I'm not saying don't take the experience.
Yeah.
But how many kids have gone there? Like there's so many hockey players that are down there. 32 guys got picked and got to be on TV and show how great they are. The rest of them spent all that night in a nice suit for what?
Yeah.
And their parents are down there going, okay, so we got to sleep. And it started probably 45 minutes ago now for the second round and third round. Like, hopefully you get drafted. But was it worth going across the country?
Yeah.
To go and like, so I told Charlie, I said, I don't know. I think the agents kind of have a pretty good grasp on it, but I don't know. Do you go?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I work out.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously.
Work out.
Okay, so we'll cap it there because that was good. Okay, we'll see you guys next week.